Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
This road trip started in Washington, went to Chicago, and now will end here in Miami. Hot, humid Miami. Not that it matters to these two ball clubs as they are under roof here at Marlins Park. Game one of a three-game series leading to the All-Star break. The Reds and the Marlins here on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi, everyone. Along with Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Jim Kelch, and welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. Well, it's the first game, Chris, of his three-game series, the Reds and the Marlins, and what do you know? The Reds will see the best the Marlins have to offer in Jose Fernandez.
Well, one of the best in the National League, to be sure, because when this young man is right, I'm not sure there's a better right-handed pitcher out there. Yes, I am including pitchers like Jake Arrieta in that. 23 years old. When you get him here at Marlins Park in Miami, he is 24 wins against 1 loss, a very sterling 1.4 earned run average. You talk about home field domination, you're looking at it right here with Jose Fernandez.
Well, he's made 35 career starts at home, and the Marlins themselves are 30-5, so he does a very good job here. Now, that's them and their big star on the pitching side. How about on the offensive side and what Giancarlo Stanton did in New York?
Well, he really got hot for a while. Here's a guy that went 4 consecutive plate appearances with hitting a home run. I mean, that's one of the reasons why he is an odd favorite to win that home run hitting contest when come the All-Star game. But the Reds have to worry about him during the ball game. You know, even with these 4 home runs in a row, he's still been mired in a horrible slump. He's chasing a lot of pitches down and outside the zone. I really feel that the key to getting Stanton out is show him inside early in the count and then come back with something down and away out of the zone later on. This guy can go out of the zone and hit the ball hard, but don't let Dan Straley get the edge on him by throwing it down the middle.
Now, Zach Cozart on the Red side, he had a pretty good series power-wise at Wrigley.
You know what? He's having an outstanding year, and by all measures, he really should be an all-star. I mean, after all, he's got 15 or so home runs. He's been a real force at the top of the lineup. He's playing sterling defense, but he's got a good fastball hitter in him. And I'll tell you, he's going to see a good fastball tonight because Jose Fernandez averages about 96 miles an hour in that heater. So you may want to turn those bats up a notch or two.
Well, it should be an interesting one then tonight as Dan Straley goes to the mound for the Reds. He had a very good start his last time out against the Washington Nationals, and he'll be opposed, of course, by Jose Fernandez. Well, around our country, this week began with a July 4th celebration, but now we mourn the loss of individuals who died during the encounters with police. We mourn after officers were injured and killed around a peaceful protest in Dallas. We at Fox Sports Ohio extend our condolences to all who suffer from these tragic events. We join those here at Marlins Park tonight as we honor the officers killed Thursday in Dallas. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. First game of this series, the Reds and the Marlins from Miami. We'll come back to Marlins Park after this.
Chicago here to South Florida. I'm Jim Day, but a daunting task tonight. You heard him talk about Jose Fernandez, and this run that he's had here at home is really unprecedented. In fact, only one guy you can point to, and that would be Roger Clemens. Only two pitchers in the last 100 years with a sub 0.50 ERA and 60 strikeouts over a span of 6 home starts. Roger Clemens did it with Toronto, and Jose Fernandez, his last 6 home starts. Unreal numbers, so beyond a daunting task as we go upstairs to the guys that will call it, Jim Kelch and Chris Welch.
Yeah, you can break it down so many ways. Thank you, Jim Day, about this guy. But the bottom line is when he pitches here at home, he wins. And as I said earlier, 30-5 in his career. The team is in 35 starts here at Marlins Park.
You know, there's really two parts of that. One is the fact that Fernandez is an outstanding pitcher and he holds the opposition down. The other part of it is his team feels that when Jose Fernandez takes the mound here, they're going to win the ball game, and they relax at the plate and they put runs on the board, and more often than not, obviously, they give him that W.
Well, this is where the Reds ended the first half of the season 1 year ago, and this is where they will end the first half of the season this year as Cozart leads it off against Fernandez here in game number 87 of this 2016 season. And boy, right off the bat, you got a good matchup. Fernandez against a hot-hitting Cozart.
Well, what you really look for with Fernandez is not only his fastball, but his breaking pitches. He'll throw his fastball anywhere from 94 to 97 miles an hour. But it's got life. It's not just one of these pitches that he shows it to you the whole way. He uses his legs and his back very well, but he's also got a very sharp, quick breaking ball. He calls it a curve. It's more like a slider. And when he gets ahead of you, he may drop that pitch on you. If you're a left-handed hitter, he has begun to use his changeup more and more. But more than anything, when you talk to the Marlins people about Fernandez, it's the fact that he loves to compete. He just loves being out there. He loves the game of baseball, what he does, and he's very emotional on the mound.
He, of course, missed most of the 2014 season and the first half of the 2015 season after undergoing Tommy John surgery. Into center field and making the run and getting to that ball is the All-Star, one of the 4 All-Stars on this Marlins club out there in center, Marcell Ozuna. Take a look at the rest of the Reds lineup following Cozart. Billy Hamilton walks to the plate now. He'll be in the 2 spot, then Votto. In the middle, it's Bruce, Duvall, and Phillips, and then Suarez, Barnhart, and Straley. And congratulations go out to Adam Duvall in his first year, really, of being an everyday player in the big leagues. He is the Reds representative for the All-Star team.
He's got to be delighted about that. I think the Reds front office ought to be delighted too, because boy, what a return they were able to get in exchange for Mike Leake, who essentially, you know, was a rental player for half the season with the San Francisco Giants. They got Duvall in return, and now he's an All-Star. Who knows how many years in a row Duvall will be able to reach that pinnacle.
Well, he has more home runs and more RBIs than any left fielder, not only in the National League, but in the major leagues. Chance here for Dietrich, and he throws out Billy Hamilton, who has really had a tough go of things since coming off the concussion disabled list almost 3 weeks ago. So 2 out. Let's take a look at the Marlins defensive setup, brought to you by your Ford dealers. They'll line up like this. Yelich is out in left field. Ozuna, the All-Stars, in center. Stanton is in right. Infield is Martin Prado. Adeiny Echeverria, the shortstop. Derek Dietrich at second. Don Kelly, just called up from AAA, is at first. The catcher is JT Realmuto, and the pitcher, the 23-year-old Jose Fernandez. There's a matchup now of interest. Joey Votto against Jose Fernandez. Votto 1 for 7 lifetime against the ace of this Marlins staff. Joey at .257 with 14 home runs. And he chokes up and hits one right back to the mound. Fernandez throws him out, and the first inning clearly goes the way of Fernandez. A 1-2-3 frame, and now Dan Straley to the mound for the Reds. Out of the mound goes Dan Straley, and here is the lineup that he will face tonight, put forth by first-year manager Don Mattingly. The catcher JT Realmuto leads it off, then Martin Prado, then Christian Yelich. Middle 3 are Giancarlo Stanton, Marcell Ozuna, and Derek Dietrich. On the bottom, Don Kelly, Adeiny Echeverria, and Jose Fernandez against this 27-year-old right-hander Dan Straley of the Reds.
Not quite the polar opposite of what he's facing tonight in Jose Fernandez, but certainly not the same style of pitcher.
Bruce on the run on the first pitch of the bottom of the first inning, onto the warning track, and he runs it down, and the hot-hitting JT Realmuto, who's 5th in the league and hitting at .320, almost had himself a hit to start the bottom of the first.
Australia will use the defense, and an out is an out any way you cut it. Realmuto really shows some power going opposite field right here. It's not often that you see a catcher in the leadoff spot, but that's what you have here with the Marlins tonight.
He's doing it for only the 10th time this year. They have used Ichiro up there. They've used Dietrich up there. They had Dee Gordon there, of course, at the beginning of the year until he was suspended for 80 games, a suspension that will come to an end near the end of this month. The PED usage. So JT Realmuto in the leadoff spot here tonight for Miami. Here's Martin Prado, the third baseman. Prado at .314 with a couple of home runs. He's driven in 28. Team that comes in with 5 players in its everyday lineup over the 300 mark. In fact, the Marlins come in with a team average of .274. That is best in the National League. Bruce on the run again. Bruce is not going to get this one. It drops for a hit. There goes the runner towards second, and with a head-first slide, Prado is in there with a one-out double.
Prado, just as advertised, as a guy who is #1 patient at the plate, #2 sprays the ball all over the place, has more gap power than he has home run power, and this ball just slices right away from Jay Bruce inside the right field line. So obviously the Marlins here coming up early on, and they're thinking about using the entire field against Dan Straley. Remember, their batting coach is Barry Bonds, who he not only used all fields, he used all bleachers.
They have quite a tandem there, don't they, in terms of the manager and the hitting coach, Mattingly and Bonds.
Both who made their mark on different parts of the United States, one an East Coast, one a West Coast guy.
There's Bonds, the all-time Major League home run king.
They've got nothing but good things to say about what Barry has done for this team.
And he has become, and not with us prior to the game, of course we didn't approach him, but he has become, from what we read and hear, very media friendly these days. Yelich, one of the Marlins hitters that's above the 300 mark. He checks in at .313 with 6 home runs. He's driven in 42. Interesting when we talk about this Miami team, #1 in team batting average at .274. You'd think that would equate to a lot of runs, but they are actually 11th in the league in scoring. The Reds have scored more runs than the Marlins this year. Reds team batting average down near the bottom of the league at .238, and yet they've outscored this Miami team by 13 runs. Down the left field line. That's going to get down for a hit. That'll give the Marlins the early lead. Duvall cuts that off, gets it back in, but back-to-back doubles by Prado and Yelich. And it's 1-0 Miami here in the bottom of the first.
Boy, it's got to be very frustrating for Dan Straley to see 2 balls stay fair right down the opposite field line. Not exactly dying quails, but they certainly seem to have the game plan, and if Straley's going to pitch him away, they're going to go with it. And that's what Yelich does here. The #3 hitter in the lineup drives a run in with that double.
Team leading 23rd double for Christian Yelich. Marlins take the early advantage here in the first. Now here's Giancarlo Stanton.
You know, every time I see a hitter swing and take a high pitch opposite field like that, it harkens back to what Kevin Mitchell once said, and it just sticks with me. Never try to pull a high pitch. I got to tell you, watching Stanton take batting practice today, I mean, he was knocking them off the glass 400 to 500 feet away. It was just amazing.
Well, he has 19 home runs, and you talked a little bit about during the Open the fact that he had 4 home runs in 4 at-bats in New York, and those weren't just regular home runs, they were like tape measure shots. 19 long ones on the year. He's driven in 47. Get a pop up out of him here, and Phillips will handle this for out number 2. Take a look at the Reds defensive setup, brought to you by your Ford dealers. They line up like this on the outfield: Duvall, Hamilton, and Bruce. Infield: Suarez, Cozart, Phillips, Votto. Straley pitching, Barnhart catching here this evening. Both these teams had the day off yesterday. Reds come in after winning the last 2 games in Chicago. It was after the final game there Wednesday that Adam Duvall was named as the Reds All-Star representative, and he's going to participate in the Home Run Derby. So 2nd year in a row the Reds will be represented in that department. Todd Frazier, who won it last year as a member of the Reds, is back into the Derby again. And you know the format, it's like a tournament style format. Duvall is ranked the seeded 3rd of the 8. He'll go against the Padres' Will Myers. Frazier, meanwhile, is the 2nd seed. He'll go against Carlos Gonzalez of Colorado. If Duvall and Frazier both win their first rounds, they will square off against one another. Home Run Derby in San Diego will be interesting because that's a hard ballpark to hit home runs in.
I never had a problem giving him up there.
Ozuna, the center fielder, he is one of 4 All-Star representatives on this Miami team. The other 3 are pitchers. Tonight's starter Jose Fernandez, A.J. Ramos, their fine closer, and then Fernando Rodney, whose numbers earned him the All-Star berth, were put together in San Diego, acquired recently in a trade to set up for Ramos here. He'll wear the Marlins uniform next Tuesday. Nice job by Straley to get the strikeout there and end the inning. Here's Jay Bruce on Tuesday. A big home run for him. It came in the 9th inning. It was a 2-run shot. Gave the Reds a little cushion in that 9-5 victory over the Cubs. For Jay, it was home run number 18. And that leads us right into our IGS Bringing the Energy feature. 18th home run of the season came on Tuesday for Jay Bruce as he grounds out here against the shift. He made it close down there. But he is out to start the top of the second. Second Reds player to hit at least 18 home runs in each of his first 9 seasons with the Reds, the other being the Hall of Famer Frank Robinson, 14th player in Major League history. Jay Bruce, our IGS bringing the energy feature tonight. Here is the All-Star Adam Duvall. Adam at 249, 22 home runs, 59 runs batted in. And again, he is #1 in Major League Baseball. Home runs and RBIs out of left fielders. Duvall in the Chicago series, only 1 out of 10. Comes in now 1 for his last 12. And he takes a fastball perfectly placed right at the knees. Back to the dugout he goes. Strikeout #1 for Fernandez.
I'm sure when they went over the scouting report on Jose Fernandez, they said, all right, now don't start chasing pitches that are down low because they have a tendency to look like strikes and they're sharp breaking balls that'll break out of the strike zone. So what do? You're patient on those that are at the knees, and he throws a fastball that stays right there for strike 3. There are a few players in the game that will show as much fun emotion as Jose Fernandez does. I mean, he just really looks like he's having a good time out there.
Well, the Reds have faced him 3 other times, and we've talked about the story that brought him here from Cuba as an 18-year-old after his father had defected 3 years earlier than that. In 05, he and his mother and sisters came over. In 08, she fell out of the boat. The mother, he dove in and rescued her, not even sure that it was his mother, just that someone had fallen over. She couldn't swim. He got her back to the boat/raft. And he has been some sort of find for this Marlins club in his career. 32-13 with a 2.47 career ERA. Brandon coming off a 3-hit game on Wednesday in Chicago, 3 out of 4. So on the road trip, 8 hits in 28 at bats. Two strikeouts in the inning, 6 in a row set down by Fernandez to get this thing started. Storyline presented by Elk & Elk. National League teams with 5+ qualified hitters batting .300 or better at the All-Star break. This Marlins club, we talked about it earlier, has 5 going into tonight's game. Of course, the Reds of 76 and 77 are on the top of that list. The Rockies, the Pirates, and now this year's team, the Marlins. 5 players above .300 heading into this series. Derek Dietrich has had the bulk of the playing time at second base since the 80-game suspension for Dee Gordon. And he's one of those over .300 at .307 with 4 home runs and 28 runs batted in.
He's a very nice offensive player, Dietrich. I'm not so sure he's a glove man that you can see from Dee Gordon. Doesn't give you the speed, but he's got a nice level swing. He's got surprising power. And he's been more than just an adequate fill-in for Don Mattingly. Of course, it'll be very interesting with the Marlins kind of surging a little bit, although they're coming off a 3-6 road trip. It'll be interesting what they decide to do when Dee Gordon comes back. I got to imagine that it's a little different getting a player back off the suspended list when you're banned for 80 games because of PED testing. You tested bad. You're using something you shouldn't have been using, versus getting a player back after being on the disabled list for 2.5 months. I mean, you welcome the DL guys back. I'm sure when Homer Bailey is finally activated and up here, they're going to be jumping for joy. But will they be doing the same thing in the Marlins dugout, or will they be sheepishly, welcoming Dee Gordon back, saying, "Good to have you back, and talk to you later"?
Well, if he gets back in the lineup, and you figure he will, he'll be replacing a guy that we just talked about that is hitting over .300. But then again, you're talking about a guy, Gordon, who hit .333, led the league in hitting last year, and has led the league in stolen bases each of the last 2 years. This one hit the other way by Don Kelly. That's going to fall in for a hit. He is going to take the big turn and then retreat to first base, as Duvall did a nice job to cut that ball off out in left.
I'll tell you, I didn't see these guys hitting the ball opposite field like this during batting practice. But I mean, that pitch is nearly off the plate right there. Straley's got to be very frustrated to know that the scouting report on him is such that early in the count he's not going to give you anything inside. He's going to go away. And they have taken that pitch, taken the other way, and they've got 3 base hits on the night, all of them opposite field.
Don Kelly getting a shot at first base here tonight. Their main first baseman, Justin Bour, is on the disabled list. He has a right ankle sprain, went on the 3rd, so he's only been on 5 days. He was having a good year, particularly in the power department. They have Chris Johnson, a former Astro, on this team, former Brave. He's been playing some first base, and they just called Kelly up from their AAA team at New Orleans. Here's a Adeiny Hechavarria. Caught, tag, out, double play. Good reaction by Votto, who caught that ball. First base coach down there, the Marlins, Perry Hill, is pointing into the dugout, and they're going to take a look and see yay or nay. Do they want to take a look via the umpires? There's the catch. There's the tag of the bag by Votto. Trying to get back down there was Don Kelly. Let's see if we can see a better glimpse here.
Well, Ed Hickox is the first base umpire. He could not have been in a better spot, but it's a very unusual play, and he's right there to make the call. They will not review it.
So the inning comes to an end here in the bottom of the 2nd. Reds still looking for their first base runner. Eugenio Suarez jumps in there to lead things off against the right-hander Jose Fernandez. 2 strikeouts for Fernandez in the second inning. He came into the day second in the National League in punch-outs behind Max Scherzer of the Nationals. Scherzer at 155. Fernandez with his 2 tonight now at 148. Suarez at 230 with 15 home runs. He took a hard slider there. Marlins wanted to call, did not get it, and a full count now to Suarez, leading off here in the third. Got him that time. So 3 straight strikeouts for Fernandez. Take a look at this now. Highest strikeouts per 9 innings all time. We're halfway through the season. Fernandez is at 13.1. Randy Johnson, the best ever, 13.4 some 15 years ago.
I mean, it's really amazing. I mean, his strikeout rate, obviously the tops in the major leagues. He's got 37% strikeout rate, which is simply off the charts. How he'll be able to sustain that, really nobody knows, but he's a young guy who's already had Tommy John surgery. He throws very hard. He uses his body and his legs very well. And I think it's just a point for Fernandez. He just threw so hard that his ligaments couldn't take it. But now that they've reinforced it with a TJ surgery, they don't think there's any problem at all. He certainly doesn't have any fear of throwing the ball as hard as he can.
Well, we do not now have to worry about the Reds getting no hit, as Tucker Barnhart, who had the big blow in the 7th inning on Wednesday, that home run ball against the Cubs, gets the hit here with 1 out in the 3rd inning. Straley wants to bunt him along and will get that done as Kelly gives it to Dietrich. That's the 8th sacrifice bunt of the year for Straley. He's handled the bat when asked to bunt very well. Baseball's 2 biggest summer events are back-to-back. The T-Mobile Home Run Derby on ESPN on July the 11th at 8 Eastern. And the very next night, don't miss baseball's biggest stars at the 87th All-Star Game in San Diego, presented by MasterCard on July the 12th on Fox. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern Time. Adam Duvall will represent the Reds in both of those events. And he will square off in the first round of the Derby with Will Myers of San Diego. And if he wins that round and Todd Frazier wins his round against Carlos Gonzalez, they will go head to head in the semifinals. Cozart comes into this one with a 5-game hitting streak. He's done very well as of late. After going through a drought that had him in a 1-for-29 slump, he's been hitting the ball better. Here he strikes out to retire the side in the top of the 3rd. Biggest night in UFC history starts on FS1 when top contenders Kat Zingano and Juliana Pena face off in the octagon. Plus veteran Johnny Hendricks looks to take down Kelvin Gastelum. UFC 200 prelims start at 7 p.m. Eastern only on FS1 or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Reds fans down here in Miami catching some Redlegs baseball prior to the All-Star break. 1-0 Miami into the bottom of the third. Fernandez actually swings the bat pretty darn well too. He throws it hard and he can hit it pretty well. A couple of career home runs. This year 7 hits and 29 at bats, including a couple of doubles.
Well, with the first pitch strike in this at bat to Jose Fernandez, Dan Straley's been doing his part. He has thrown a first pitch strike to each and every batter he has faced so far in this ballgame. That's really what it needs to be for Dan Straley. I mean, the less stuff you have, the more aggressive in the zone you have to be. And I think when he went through that little rough patch, he was nibbling off the corners and hitters were just taking those pitches and he was working himself into hitters' counts. He ought to be boosted with some good confidence after a very fine outing his last time out.
Yeah, that last start against the Nationals, there's a ball hit hard to left field but playable for Duvall, and he makes the catch for out number 1. It really was a good bounce back outing for him because the previous 3 starts he had made, his ERA was right near 11. He made some adjustments. Really good against the Nationals, giving up only the 2 hits in 7 innings. Here's JT Realmuto. "25-year-old out of Del City, Oklahoma. Drafted back in 2010 by the Marlins. Last year really his first full year as an everyday catcher down here. And he hit .259. This year he's blossomed at .320. The 5 home runs, 25 runs batted in.
Now, when he originally was signed out of Carl Albert High School, he was a shortstop, and the Marlins converted him to catcher. And he is going to be one of the more athletic catchers that you're going to see. He runs very well. That's the only reason why he's in the leadoff spot. He's still working on some of the blocking skills that it takes to be a big league catcher, but he's come a long, long way. Had a conversation with Anthony DeSclafani about Realmuto before the ball game, and you know they grew up in the minor leagues here together. DeSclafani coming from the Marlins. He just loves this guy.
Well, he had 7 hits and 7 straight at bats over the 4th of July holiday, the 3rd and the 4th in New York. From a Marlins standpoint, they did lose 2 out of 3 out there. They've just been a team that has hovered near the 500 mark most of the year.
Good looking pitch.
Second strikeout for Straley in the second out here in the bottom of the 3rd.
Now there are pitches that look like strikes and then turn into balls, and there are those that look like balls and then turn into strikes, and that's what Straley drops on Realmuto right there. Just a pitch that he thinks is going to be inside, and it comes right back over the plate for strike 3. That's a dandy.
So looking for his first perfect inning, Dan Straley, as he deals here with Martin Prado. Prado's a guy that signed a 4-year deal with the Diamondbacks 4 years ago. And since he signed that, he was sent to the Yankees in a trade by the Diamondbacks and then came over here to the Marlins. Had a good year last year at 288, plus 300 hitters so far this year. Cozart, the steady one at shortstop for the Reds, throws him out. And there's a 1-2-3 third turned in by Straley. On Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News Best Children's Hospitals. Good shot of downtown Miami. Beautiful setting where the Reds stay in downtown area. This ballpark, of course, on the side of the old Orange Bowl. Moved in here when they also changed their name from the Florida Marlins to the Miami Marlins. It happened for the 2012 season, so they're in their 5th here in this ballpark and 5th since being called the Miami Marlins. Billy leads it off and he shoots one out into right field, and that's a base hit. He will turn and head to second on the momentary bobble out there by Stanton. I mean, Billy doesn't need much, and he took advantage of that slight bobble by Stanton in right, and he stands at second base.
Well, you better be sure of Stanton out there because he has a plus arm. In fact, one of the better arms you're going to see of any right fielder in Major League Baseball. But Billy Hamilton, his speed is just something to behold. He's thinking 2 anyway, and that little bobble right there gives Billy Hamilton a chance. Stanton throws it nearly from his knees as he turns around, finally picking the ball up. But by that time, Billy's already hit full stride.
They'll give Billy a single on that ball and charge an error to Stanton out in right field. So a single and an E9. Any way you look at it, the Reds have the tying run in scoring position to start the 4th.
First at bat, Votto chased a couple of pitches up and away. I think he was very aggressive against Fernandez, thinking he was going to get more strikes in that at bat than he actually got. And that's what Fernandez really specializes in, is having hitters chase stuff off the plate, of which they don't make contact.
Fernandez now falls behind 2-0. As Votto with runners in scoring position this year, despite his struggles overall at the plate, he has maintained a good average with runners on.
Votto thinks that was outside,
Yeah.
and he just told Dana Demuth the same. Not even close.
Not a full effort swing there by Joey. He caught a piece of it and fouled it.
Yeah, he's having a little talk with himself. Internal conversation.
You heard him say he gets back to his neutral spot before he gets back in there. So Votto career-wise 1 for 8 against Fernandez. Marlins scored a run in the first. Back-to-back doubles by Prado and Yelich. Reds have the tying run at second here, and Votto was fooled on that pitch, and down he goes on strikes. 5 of them now by Fernandez.
Well, that's a breaking ball right there. A little backdoor job. I guess it probably would have been a strike had Votto not decided to swing. And that's how deceptive Fernandez can be. I mean, you're taking one of the better hitters in baseball with a brilliant eye at the plate and making him look like that with a swing, which we've seen Votto do from time to time. But Fernandez seems to do that to hitters just about every 5 days.
Well, he has 5 strikeouts now. We're in the 4th, so he appears to be well on his way to still another double-figure strikeout game. He's had 6 of them already this year.
You know, there was a time that the Reds thought that they had a chance to sign Jose Fernandez. When he first came over from Cuba, and he enrolled in high school in Tampa, he went to Braulio Alonso High School. He played both his sophomore and his senior years, and in those years his high school won the state championship. But before the senior year, the State Athletic Association had declared him ineligible because he actually had enrolled in the 9th grade when he was in Cuba. Well, that's when the Reds were after him. They wanted to sign him as a free agent. In fact, they had a deal done with Fernandez and his people at $1.3 million. But upon appeal, he was able to become eligible for his senior year. So he went back to school, pitched him to the state championship, ended up going in the 2011 draft where the Marlins got him as the 14th pick. Reds did not pick that year until number 27 when they picked Robert Stevenson.
So so close.
Oh, so close. And Fernandez, if you want to know what the difference in signing bonus was, the Reds had a deal for 1.3 that year with the Marlins being 14th in the first round. He got a $2 million bonus.
I think we can close our eyes and envision him in a Reds uniform.
Well, you could think, you know, you just rolled the clock back a little bit. Cueto, Fernandez, or Fernandez and Cueto, Homer Bailey. He has some pretty good arms on the hill the last few years.
Hard to imagine. He's only 23, as you mentioned earlier, but in his 4th big league season. Line to left by Bruce and caught out there by Yelich. Jay hit it pretty well. Unfortunately, right at the left fielder. So 2 out. The batter will be Adam Duvall.
Well, he was drafted in 2011. Then 2013 rolls around, and he was their best prospect, and they invited him to big league camp. But kind of on a whim, they decided to bring him north with the ball club, or south with the ball club as it is down here in Miami, and the owner decided that promoting Fernandez would buy him some goodwill with the fans because they had a fire sale of players the previous season. Well, he pitched so well that they decided to keep him up there. He made the All-Star team that year and was eventually the Rookie of the Year in 2013, all at age 20.
Good background stuff right there. Works on the Reds All-Star Adam Duvall here with a runner at second base. He was there with nobody out. He's there now with 2 out. looking for his 60th run batted in. And he gets ahead 2-0. Duvall drove in 1 run in the series in Chicago. And he'll rip one out into left field here. He'll drive one in, and now the ball gets away from the left fielder Yelich. Here goes Duvall headed into second, and safe is the call.
What a slide by Duvall.
He sidestepped the second baseman Dietrich to get around the tag, and then dove for the bag and got in there with a second base umpire Ben May right on top of it.
First the swing. I mean, this is such a short, compact swing. I mean, barrel to the ball. And the ball handcuffs the left fielder Yelich. He comes up throwing, and he's already committed, Duvall is. And he's dead to rights, except a little bobble by Dietrich and a sideways slide around the right in there.
Marlins are taking a look at it as we look at it again, whether they want to challenge or not, and they do not. Look at the nimbleness right here by the All-Star.
Why did Dietrich just put his knee down in front of the bag? Oh well, the things you think of later.
So that'll go as a single, a run batted in. An error on the left fielder Yelich to allow Duvall to get to second base. And now an opportunity for Phillips to put the Reds in front here in the 4th.
2 outfield errors in this inning.
Yeah. We should make note by a Marlins team that has been a pretty good defensive team this year. They come in with 40 errors, the 3rd fewest in the National League. There's a look at the errors, the teams in the National League. Washington best, then the Dodgers, Don Mattingly's old ball club.
All right, now I imagine, I mean, I would think that it would be an unearned run so far. Of course, you never.
Up the middle by Phillips, diving Dietrich, no play. Here comes Duvall, and they've got him at the plate.
Boy, Dietrich almost went to sleep on that.
Play goes 4-2. Duvall is out to end the top of the 4th inning. The Reds Connect Zone presented by Miami University at Great American Ballpark during your next visit. Located on the third base concourse behind section 109, the Reds Connect Zone offers free charging stations, plus 27 screens of game coverage, tweets, Instagram photos, trending topics, and much more. Little action in the top of the 4th inning for the Reds. They tie the game with an RBI single by Duvall, who got into second, nimbly avoiding the tag of the second baseman Dietrich, but could not do the same on the play at the plate. As Chris mentioned, Dietrich almost fell asleep and allowed Duvall to hustle around third and score, but he got the ball in there to Realmuto, who put on the tag. Turns out that makes that run an earned run, and the game is a 1-1 contest here in the bottom of the 4th inning. The Reds now have out-hit the Marlins 4-3. The Marlins have committed 2 errors. Yelich an RBI double back in the 1st. Straley has walked no one. He has struck out 2. And now a full count to Christian Yelich. Yelich is a homegrown product drafted by the then Florida Marlins back in 2010. And he takes ball 4, and so the leadoff man on for Florida Miami here in the bottom of the 4th. I'll say that Reds run was unearned. I find that hard to believe. In that Phillips base hit, probably was going to score Hamilton from second anyway. Be that as it may, the game is tied 1-1. Stanton popped up in the shallow right, a ball caught by Phillips his first time. Talking about the home runs that he hit in New York, those 4 home runs and 4 at bats. He hit 2 of them on Tuesday, in his last 2 at bats, a 2-run homer on Tuesday in the 7th, and then in the 8th inning he came up again and hit a 3-run homer. And then on Wednesday, after walking his first time up, hit a solo home run in the 4th, and then his 200th career home run in the 6th inning of that game. So 4 home runs in 4 consecutive at-bats, plus a walk, which is a plate appearance in the middle of it. He is the all-time career home run king down here for the Marlins. Blew by Dan Uggla at 154. Quick to first. The runner gets back. He led the league in home runs in 2014 with 37. We talked about his home run the other night being his 200th. 200 home runs, age 30 and younger. Active players, only he and Bruce. Jay has 226, about 3 years older. Pretty good list to be on right there. Stanton wasn't sure if that was ball 3 or ball 4. Stood at the plate, now walks to first base. Back-to-back walks by Straley start the bottom of the 4th.
Just because you faced them one time through the order doesn't mean you can't be aggressive the second time through. You know, Stanton does this to a lot of people where they just don't want to pitch to him. I'd be inclined to pitch Stanton inside to make sure he wouldn't hit the ball back up the middle. Move my third baseman way back and tell him here it comes.
Well, let's see what they do now with Marcell Ozuna. Struck out to end the first. Bats with 2 on and nobody out. Here in the 4th. First pitch swinging after 2 straight walks. Bruce will make the catch. Runner tagging from second is Yelich. He will advance. And it's 1st and 3rd with 1 out.
You'll take that all day long if you're Dan Straley.
After back-to-back walks, he goes up there aggressively swinging at the first pitch. You bet.
Well, it's okay to swing at the first pitch, but you know, to be late on a fastball and hit a lazy fly ball to right field when you're clearly in the driver's seat. He's come a long way. He's going to the All-Star game, Ozuna is. There was one time that the Marlins were anxious to trade that young man. They were probably happy that they held on to him.
Here's Dietrich. Grounded out his first time. Made the team out of spring training this year, and he's been with them all year. He's been the benefactor of Gordon being out in terms of playing time, but a year ago he was the guy that got sent down to AAA New Orleans because Gordon was here and having such a good year. 2014 he hit .228 last year. Spent half the season at AAA. Eventually played and hit .256 with this Marlins club a year ago. Slices that ball into left. That'll give the Marlins the lead once again. So a walk, a fly out with a runner advancing. And Dietrich, a .305 hitter with runners in scoring position. Nice job of slicing that ball into left, and it's 2-1 in favor of Miami.
I'll tell you, the Marlins are textbook on how to hit the ball opposite field and kind of take what the pitcher's giving you.
Here now is Don Kelly.
You know, part of Straley's strength is to a left-handed hitter to throw that sinker down and away, the changeup down and away, and hope that the hitter wants to pull that pitch. And when you try to pull it, you roll over on it and you hit a harmless ground ball. But if you're patient and you hit it right out of the catcher's glove, you hit a line drive the other way.
Which is what Dietrich did.
Which is what Yelich did in the first inning, what Prado did, if you want to call it not really a line drive. Kelly sliced it the other way in the second inning. I don't think they've got a base hit to the full field yet.
Hits are now even at 4. Marlins have regained the lead 2-1. Now toward the middle, this could be a pair. There's an out and an inning-ending double play hit into by Don Kelly to end the 4th.
Ohio. I'm Jim Day. You know what? Someone in the Reds traveling party has ran halfway around the world. What are we talking about? We're talking about Reds media relations guy Rob Butcher, who 9 years ago started running avidly and has been tracking his running ever since. I don't think Rob is in the press box right now, or we'd show him. But he has run, and he's logged it all. Yesterday on his 53rd birthday, which was very coincidental, by the way. 12,459 miles after 7 miles run today. It is 24,901 miles if you go around the entire Earth, around the equator. So he has literally run halfway around the world.
Well, happy birthday to Rob Butcher, number 53. A day late. I don't think I saw him yesterday. I would have mentioned that.
He was out running.
I don't know. I guess, Jim, you were with him for how much of that? Halfway around the world.
Right then. What's that? I'm sorry?
I say you were with him for how much of that?
Is there a negative total? None. That guy has run 5 marathons, including the Boston Marathon in 2010. And he said he was motivated by a friend that basically said, hey, you're getting a little bit of a gut, which I hear often. And started running, and that was like 9 years ago. And he first started tracking it manually. He would drive his car around the route that he ran, go back and log it, add it all up. Now he does it online through some online programs. But coincidentally enough, on his 53rd birthday yesterday, he got past the halfway around the world mark.
Wow.
Well, you would figure if anybody's going to track it, it would be a stats guy like Rob. Media relations director of the Reds, deals with all the notes and the stats and the numbers of the team.
Well, I'm thinking about running over to the Clevelander after the game, Jim. What do you think about coming with me?
There's Rob. I mean, you and he could run over to the Clevelander afterwards. Pay your $175 or whatever it is a person to get in and have at it. What was that, 2 years ago you did that? You know, when the team is in Chicago, and it just happened, after the games, Rob changes into his running gear at the ballpark at Wrigley Field and runs back to the hotel. And generally speaking, the two arrive at about the same time.
Team Bus and Rob together. Yeah. Well, whatever makes you happy.
That's right. Josh Hall, our producer, is another one, an avid runner. I don't know that he has logged his miles.
Well, he's a hiker. I mean, on his days off, it's not uncommon for him to hike many, many, many miles. Encounters with bears and everything else.
He gives his address as national parks around the country. Figures he'll pick it up when he gets there because he's going to be there eventually.
Well, he feels more comfortable sleeping in a sleeping bag out in the open. That's why I saw one out there on the pool deck. I'm wondering if that belonged to him, where the Reds are staying down here in Miami.
You didn't sneak a look inside, see if he was in there?
I'll find out later on tonight.
By the diving first baseman Kelly, turning the corner Suarez. He's going to end up at third. Good piece of hitting by Tucker Barnhart, who's had a very nice road trip. He's 2 for 2 today, and Tucker Barnhart now has 10 hits and 22 at bats on the trip.
Really settled in a little bit, Tucker has. I think, you know, the more he plays, the more confidence he has, the more he realizes what he can do, and he just gets this ball right by the first baseman Kelly. Kelly holding the runner on, so it opens up a little space on the right side. Love that eye black, boy. He's got a double dose of it today.
So the Marlins took the lead in the first. Reds tied it. Marlins have regained the lead in the bottom of the fourth. Now the Reds have an opportunity with runners at the corners and nobody out. And that one up and in for ball one. In case you're thinking squeeze, yes, the Reds have had a successful squeeze play this year. They did it down in Houston back in June. Ramon Cabrera executed it. They'll move the runner along to second on the sacrifice. The second one of the game by Straley. That puts runners at second and third with one man out.
I wonder if he tutors, because he does it so easily. I mean, he looks like he's confident and very calm at the plate, laying that bunt down. Some of the other pitchers we've seen, not just on the Reds team, but around the league, get up there and they get nervous and they jab at it and they don't get the job done. He could make some money in the offseason.
We got 9 of them now. Remember a couple of years ago, Johnny Cueto led the big leagues in sacrifice bunts, a member of the Reds. In fact, those 9 now tie him with Billy Hamilton for the National League lead sacrifice bunts. Let's see if Cozart can tie or give the Reds the lead here in the top of the 5th. 0 for 2 in this game for Cozart. 10 hits, including 3 home runs on the road trip. Zach had a 2-run homer in the 7th inning on Monday at Wrigley Field. That was against Travis Wood. He came back, had a 2-run homer in the 2nd inning on Tuesday against John Lackey, and then closed out that series with a leadoff home run against Adam Warren on Wednesday.
Well, this is a particularly interesting at bat because you have a high strikeout pitcher in Jose Fernandez pitching against Cozart, who desperately needs to put the bat on the ball to drive a runner in from third base. I mean, a lazy fly ball will be good enough, even a deep ground ball.
1-2.
He is flown out to center and he's struck out his 2nd time up. But it's interesting because now, you know, Fernandez gets a lot of strikeouts, but here's a situation where you really need one. So can you get one when you want one?
Fernandez working quickly. Cozart steps out. Now the 2 back in there. Three homers in his last 3 games, longest streak of Cozart's career. He's too shy now of tying a team record. Fastball that he stays alive with a foul straight back. Phillips had 4 home runs, or homers in 4 consecutive games earlier this year. Really the only stretch this season that he has hit the long ball. Phillips comes into this game with only 6. 4 of them came in 4 days. On a breaking ball, Cozart strikes out. So yes, Fernandez does get the strikeout when he needs it. His 6th of the night. Now it's up to Billy Hamilton. He hit to right his last time. Hamilton now has 2 hits in 4 at-bats lifetime against Fernandez. And unlike Cozart, this has not been a good road trip for Billy. Let's see if he can come up with something big right here. Leadoff single by Suarez. Barnhart singled him to 3rd. Straley sacrificed Barnhart to 2nd. Cozart struck out, and now Hamilton in an 0-2 hole. To the shortstop. And they get him at first. Chance for the Reds squandered there in the top of the 5th. tomorrow afternoon when the Reds take on the Marlins. Reds Live kicks off our coverage beginning at 3:30, followed by the game at 4. Swing in the Summer on Fox Sports Ohio, presented by Miller Lite. Probables tomorrow. Adam Conley will go for Miami against John Lamb of the Reds. Conley made his major league debut as a starter and picked up a win in his first big league start against the Reds here last year at this time of year. John Lamb, he's just desperate to get a win. He has but one. That'll be second game of the series here tomorrow. This ball hit very well near the wall, and it's Billy Hamilton who climbed the wall and then looked like he may have jammed his knee as he runs out there in the outfield, taking a hit away from Echeverria. He might have sprained his ankle on that thing.
An amazing catch. I mean, he goes and really just almost out of control in his pursuit of fly balls and running the base paths. Bangs up there. There's a chain link fence protecting the LED lights. Straley likes it, and Billy Hamilton is still walking it off. You know, he refers to some of the things. I know the interview that he did with Jim Day the other day about scoring from second base on a pass ball. He said, you know, sometimes I just do things and they're just stupid. I look back and I run into walls. I try to run the bases recklessly like that, and you're not thinking about it at the time. Instinct takes over. Well, that's a.
You see that replay? It looked like the outside of his right knee banged into the wall, out of town scoreboard wall out there. Cozart will throw out Fernandez for the second out of the inning. I mean to tell you, the highlight reel would be awfully entertaining of the defensive plays that Hamilton has made.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this is going to rank because he doesn't bring back a home run. It's certainly an extra base hit if he gets by him. But I mean, to see where he started and where he ended up to make that catch, I'm not so sure there's another center fielder that makes that catch.
Terrific work by Billy Hamilton. So here's JT Realmuto, the catcher. Nice off-speed pitch by Straley there, and it's no balls and 2 strikes. Realmuto is lined to right. Took a called third strike in the third. He's 0 for 2 in this game. Comes off an incredible road trip. The 9-game trip that took the Marlins to Detroit, Atlanta, and New York. They went 3-6 on the trip. He went 14 of 30 at the plate. Jammed in here. Votto on the run. Will he get it? He does. Wow. 2 defensive gems by the Reds here in the bottom of the 5th inning. One by Hamilton, another one by Votto, and the one by Billy certainly earns another look. Action aboard the Cincinnati Bell Riverboat deck at Great American Ballpark. Located above the center field wall, you can take in a panoramic view of the Ohio River and the entire ballpark. Book your party or group outing. Simply call the Reds Group Sales Department. That number 513-765-7600, or you can visit reds.com/groups. Billy Hamilton being checked out in the Reds dugout. Steve Bauman, the head trainer, right there following Billy. Brian Price will look at the Reds center fielder. Votto leads things off here in inning number 6. Billy headed to the clubhouse with Steve Bauman. Votto, Bruce, Duvall, inning number 6.
Now the Reds have had their chances. They had a very good chance the last inning to drive in at least the tying run. They had 3 base hits in the 4th inning, 2 base hits in the 5th, and Fernandez has not broken yet.
Joey Tardy on that. He's at 1-2. And now he strikes out for the 2nd time. And both times he has fanned. He's had some late decision swings. Fernandez made him look bad.
Joey's just completely beside himself right now. That's a changeup. We've only seen Fernandez throw a handful of those today. I mean, not even 5 of them. That's a pitch that is becoming better and better for him. And when he gets that down, he really ought to be outlawed.
Bruce rips this ball into right. Dietrich on a hop will throw him out. I mean to tell you, you can't hit the ball much harder than Jay hit that. But the shift pays off for the Marlins, and Dietrich throws Bruce out at first.
You're right about that. I mean, right on the button, a humpback line drive right at the edge of the cutout. It's a big old hang with him.
Well, Jay's had really good contact twice now. He lined out to left, and now that ground ball. So 2 men down, and here's Adam Duvall. Two out, nobody on. 1 ball and 1 strike to Duvall. RBI single in the 4th. A nifty move out around second base. Get himself into scoring position. Now he's in the hole 1-2. In the 6th, we'll go to the bottom half. When we come back, our man Jim Day, more on Adam Duvall and the Home Run Derby.
out in San Diego for the All-Star game, and as we've talked about, he accepted the invitation to be in the Home Run Derby. And you look at the brackets, Jim Kelch, Chris Welsh talked about it earlier. Should he get past the first round, he will face perhaps former Red Todd Frazier. But in round number 1, he will face the hometown kid, Wil Myers. And I talked to Adam about it, and he knows he's going to be the bad guy.
I'll probably sort of be the underdog, you know, because a lot of people will be cheering for him. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's all fun. So, you know, it's one of the opportunities where you kind of just get to have fun and not have any stress. And so I'm looking forward to it.
And you'll hear that full interview on Reds Live, the pregame edition, coming up on Sunday. And he's done it before. He's hitting home run derbies in the minor leagues, and he said he's ready to go. Should be fun. Could a Red win it back-to-back years?
Wouldn't that be something? I mean, we talked earlier about the fact that San Diego's a hard place to hit the balls in anyway, hit them out of. And remember, this is the second year now that they've had this current format, sort of a tournament type format, and they're timed. Remember last year, because of the rain, they shortened the time period to 3 minutes, but it's a 4-minute timed segment. You hit as many as you can, or if you're the second one, the second batter in the frame, you hit. If you hit one more than the fellow that you're going up against, then you're finished. You can get a timeout in there. There's swing offs. So there's
Isn't there a bonus time for a distance home run if you hit one 440 feet?
2 of them, I think. You
Two of them, you get an extra 30 seconds, right? Well, last year, if you remember, and I think this is very important, the pitcher is very important. So Todd Frazier brought his brother in to throw to him, and he grew up seeing it. So I'm not sure who will be the designated pitcher for Adam Duvall. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Well, I guess we'll find out on Sunday. Jim's full interview with Adam.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a pretty good resume for giving up a lot of long balls.
Now, you and I both know that that arm could not withstand 4 solid minutes of throwing at 3/4 speed.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that thing would be falling off. You couldn't go to the Clevelander anymore. You couldn't make your dance moves anymore.
I'd be on the DL.
South Beach and you would have to be separated.
I'd have to recoup right there on
the Clevelander,
right there on San Diego Beach.
It wouldn't work
for the rest of the season. Probably Pacific Beach. Move up to La Jolla for a little while.
More importantly, now your golf swing would suffer, and that you cannot have that happen. I mean, that's your bread and butter. Billy Hamilton back out there in center field. To his right, makes the play on that ball to retire Martin Prado, and out number 1.
Our annual shout out to our good friend in Dayton, Lance Litback, from your boy Bobby Dorfman. He says hello. He's working hard down here, and he says he's got that money that he owes you, but you have to come down here to South Florida to get it.
Well, why don't you be the messenger for a service fee?
There wouldn't be anything left.
Well, of course, there's a big group of Reds rooters down here tonight, too, for tonight's game and tomorrow afternoon, sitting beyond the Reds dugout. Billy again broke in, now goes back, continuing to go back, ball over his head and out of the ballpark. Home run for Christian Yelich, his 7th of the year, and the Marlins now lead it 3-1.
Now, it's a big man's part of the ballpark, just about anywhere in this ballpark, because it's a tough place to hit home runs. But Yelich goes right down there to the left-hander's wheelhouse and takes it right out the front door.
So you get Yelich getting the home run. Now you get the home run man up there, and Giancarlo Stanton. That's a fair ball into the corner off the wall at the 344 mark, and Stanton into second with a double. So back-to-back hard hit balls by the Marlins. 11th double for Stanton.
Now, really what Marlins fans are seeing right now is something that they've really never had a chance to see in the last few years, which is Giancarlo Stanton and Jose Fernandez healthy at the same time. You mentioned about Fernandez missed most of 2014, half of last year, coming back from elbow surgery. Well, Stanton missed the first part of 2013 with a hamstring issue. He missed the end of 2014 when he was hit in the face with a pitch ball. And then the last half of last year really ended in June for him when he had a hand injury that put him out for the remainder of 2015. So finally, Marlins fans are seeing their best pitcher and their best hitter really in the lineup at the same time.
You see that face guard coming around his cheekbone on the helmet that he wears. A lot of guys wear those, but it's a full filled in guard. His is more like a football helmet type look. Blake Wood is up and throwing in the Reds bullpen under the watchful eye of new bullpen coach Teddy Power. Ozuna tonight has struck out and flied out. He's 0 for 2. Hits are now even at 6 apiece. 4 of the 6 hits by the Marlins have been extra base hits. Hamilton will haul this in. Stanton will tag and advance. And he's at third with 2 out.
There's one of our favorites coaching third down there, Lenny Harris.
You get a chance to go down and talk to him today?
Oh, absolutely. Boy, he was holding court. He had all the Reds in stitches. They were all happy to see Ted Power. Marty was down there chatting with him. Boy, he is one fun guy to be around. And boy, could he hit.
Here's Dietrich had a good pick-me-up hit in the 4th inning with a runner in scoring position and 1 out. Drove in a run. That's here with a runner at third and 2 out. Trying to extend a 3-1 Marlins lead. The Marlins come in at 44 and 41 on the year. Now 6.5 games out. There was a brief period earlier in the week where they had surpassed the Yankees, jumped over them, and were in second place behind the Nationals. They were there for 1 day at 5.5 out. And they proceeded to lose 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. And lose 2 out of 3 to the Mets in New York. Put them back into third place. Straley going to get it, give it on to Votto. Nice play by the Reds pitcher, and that puts an end to the bottom of the 6th. Marlins took the lead in the first inning. This is an RBI double by Christian Yelich down the left field line that scored Prado to make it 1-0 Marlins. Reds came back in the fourth inning. This is a base hit by Adam Duvall into left field. Hamilton scored, and the game was tied at 1. But the Marlins bounced right back in the bottom of the fourth. Run-producing hit the other way by Derek Dietrich. Plates Christian Yelich. 2-1 Marlins, and then this base hit. The home run by Yelich into center field for Yelich, number 7. Made it 3-1 in the bottom of the 6th, and that's where we are as we head into inning number 7, our Honda game summary. Jose Fernandez back to work. He has thrown 85 pitches through 6 innings in this game. Reds had an opportunity back in the 4th inning when they tied it, with Duvall making that nifty move around second. He was in there. Phillips had the infield hit, kept on the infield by Dietrich, who momentarily thought the play was over. Duvall tried to score. That went in on the hands of Phillips, and is he hit? He is, and he will take first base to start the 7th inning. Duvall was thrown out to end the 4th. Reds had first and third, nobody out in the 5th, couldn't capitalize. Now they have a base runner here to start the 7th, hit by a pitch.
Oh, right on the back of the hand. 5th metacarpal.
Your eyesight hasn't lost anything.
I mean, that's one of those smiles that you give when something hurts so bad you don't know what else to do but smile.
Here's Suarez. He had a base hit his last time against Fernandez. That's the 6th time that Phillips has been hit this year, most on this team. Nice pick there by Kelly. They get the out at first. Phillips is being run back to the bag, and he is out with Echeverria running him down. That ball smoked by Suarez. A bad break for the Reds as Kelly was right there on the short hop to pick it. The end result is a double play.
Boy, every time the Reds get something, the Marlins figure out a way to snuff it out. That ball kind of scooped out there by Kelly. And just run down as Echeverria catches up with Brandon Phillips.
So 2 men out. The batter will be Tucker Barnhart. Already 2 hits tonight. There was Tucker's 3-run homer in the 7th inning of the game on Wednesday. Came against Trevor Cahill. Brought the Reds back. They trailed 3-1. His homer made it 4-3. Reds went on to win that game 5-3. Great relief work by Michael Lorenzen. Tony Cingrani closed it out easily in the bottom of the 9th to pick up his 10th save. Hard hit, but at Dietrich. And the Reds are finished in the 7th.
Greater coverage of baseball. Trevor Story tied the National League rookie record with his 21st home run prior to the All-Star break, joining Dave Kingman and Albert Pujols to accomplish that. David Ortiz, the ageless one, hit 20 home runs for the 15th straight season. Second oldest player to hit 20 home runs before the All-Star break, joining Raul Ibanez and former Red Johnny Cueto. What a season he's having. He's the only 13-game winner in the National League at 13-1. Although Jake Arrieta is going for his 13th victory tonight, but the Cubs are trailing the Pirates 3-1 as we speak.
Well, Johnny Cueto has a great chance, don't you think, of being the starting pitcher for the National League side in the All-Star game. I mean, he pitched earlier in this week, so he'll be ready to go next week. 13-game winner. We'll see what happens. That'd be great.
On the mound for the Reds is Blake Wood. So Straley goes 6 innings of 3-run baseball, scatters 6 hits in the process. For Wood, this is game number 39.
Straley goes 6, allows 3 runs, 6 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 90 pitches. So another quality start for him, his 9th in 16 starts.
Wood was the only major league free agent that the Reds signed in the offseason. He spent last year as a closer for the Indianapolis team, the AAA affiliate for the Pirates. He's got the distinction of being one of 2 pitchers in that Reds bullpen.
Hamilton with a read on that line drive by Kelly, and he makes the catch.
One of only 2 that started with the Reds at the beginning of spring training and have stayed in that bullpen the entire season so far. Everybody else is kind of an up and down. For Wood, the other one would be Tony Cingrani.
Echeverria has lined out twice. Lined into that double play back in the 2nd inning. Devato at first. And he hit the ball that Hamilton made that fantastic catch on out in left center field back in the 5th. Billy has a hit tonight. He's made some very nice plays out in centers. Highly involved in this one. Got it in the air. Shallow center. Hamilton makes the play. And there are 2 out. Will be a part of Super Saturdays this season at the ballpark. Saturday, July the 16th, thanks to PNC Bank, the first 25,000 fans will receive a Zach Cozart bobblehead. Catch all the action when the Reds take on the Milwaukee Brewers. You can do it for only $12. For tickets, 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com. Pinch hitter comes up there now for Jose Fernandez. So he is finished after 7 innings and 93 pitches. Standing in the bat is Tomas Tellis. Toward the mound and Wood, and he will throw him out. And so Blake Wood has a perfect 7th inning. A little more action offensively. Down a pair at 3-1. They're able to get 6 hits against Jose Fernandez, but he is finished for the night. And now a familiar face from earlier this year. We saw him come into Cincinnati and do a good job with the Padres, but recently acquired by this Marlins club is Fernando Rodney. He comes into the game.
Rodney was excellent when he was with the Padres. In fact, he was being used as their closer, but here in Miami, he moves up a notch. A very fine 1.1 earned run average, and as if his name on the back of his uniform wasn't enough to recognize him, that side style wearing hat is a way to give Fernando Rodney away. He's been doing that for a long time, ever since he broke into the major leagues with the Detroit Tigers.
And he's 39 years old. He was perfect in saves at 17 of 17 with San Diego. In fact, his last 2 appearances as a Padre were against the Reds. He worked in Cincinnati on the 23rd and 25th of June. Saved each of those 2 games for San Diego. A 7-4 win on the 23rd, a 3-0 win the 25th, and was traded on the 30th over here to Miami. He's appeared in 4 games with the Marlins, 4 innings, 3 runs, 3 hits. He last worked on Tuesday in New York against the Mets, allowing a run in 1 inning's worth of work. Jose Peraza batting here for Blake Wood in the 8th inning. Finds himself in the hole 1 and 2. Floats one out to right, but Stanton will close on it for out number 1. Top of the order now, and Zach Cozart. Miguel Rojas has taken over at second base for the Marlins. Rodney really gives this Marlins team a good tandem at the back end of the bullpen. I mean, he was 17 of 17. Ramos is 24 of 25. In fact, he had saved his first 24 save opportunities this year until that ended on Friday night in Atlanta.
Well, they really like this Marlins team. I mean, if you talk to the manager, Don Mattingly, some of the coaches, of course, Tony Perez in uniform behind the batting cage today, and they really like the team, the lineup, the way they play defense, the way they're athletic. But they're just short an arm or two in the starting rotation. So they help themselves by picking up Rodney in the bullpen. But they wondering what the front office can do now and trying to get them a starter so they can make a run at the Nationals. Right now they're third place behind the Nationals and the Mets. That is Tim Wallach to the left and Don Mattingly on your right.
Tim Wallach's son Chad is in the Reds organization.
Should be back from a broken wrist in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Tim was telling me just as his son was getting hot with the bat, he ended up breaking his hand.
When you look at the rotation of the Marlins, and the Reds will see Adam Conley at 3.65 tomorrow. Tom Kohler on Sunday at 4.40. Justin Nicolino, a guy that the Reds saw last year, has an ERA of 5.5. So yeah, they might need, if they want to make a run for the postseason, improve that starting rotation. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio has been brought to you by Kroger. Stop by your neighborhood Kroger to save big store wide. Great food, low prices at Kroger. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit viatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Well, among others, David Ortiz, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, Adam Duvall, and many more. All of baseball's superstars will come together for the primetime event that will light up the summer. That's the Major League Baseball All-Star Game from San Diego, coming up on Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern, only on Fox. New pitcher on for the Reds is Ross Ohlendorf. His task is to keep it a 2-run game heading into the 9th inning. JT Realmuto will lead it off.
Wood came in and pitched a perfect 1-2-3 to the bottom of the order in the 7th. Now Ohlendorf gets the top of the order here. That part of the order that has done the damage so far tonight.
Ohlendorf appearing for the 38th time. Jose Peraza has taken over, by the way, at second base for Phillips.
I don't know if the Reds are up to anything. Maybe they're having some conversations with the Marlins, but we usually do not see both of the very top executives in the baseball department here with the Reds in the same city at the same place, unless it's Cincinnati. And we have Walt Jocketty and Dick Williams, President of Baseball Operations Walt, and the new General Manager Dick Williams, on the trip here in Miami.
I assume you'll be investigating that. There they are up in the booth, press level. Base hit for Martin Prado, his second of the night. Well, you ladies, if you're looking for a perfect night out with your girlfriends, how about a night of their own presented by St. Elizabeth Healthcare? You can enjoy dinner, an open bar, throw a pitch from the mound, snag fly balls in the outfield, meet manager Brian Price and some of the coaches, and much, much more. Plus, this year, you'll get cool Reds swag, including a watch and wine tumbler. Sign up today at reds.com/events if you're interested in a night of their own coming up on July the 21st. Here's Christian Yelich. He's done most of the offensive damage tonight. Drove in the first run in the first inning, scored the second run in the fourth, and then hit the home run ball in the sixth. Here's that home run he hit back in the sixth inning, his seventh of the year. Straightaway center field. Billy Hamilton went back in vain, watched it go in to the greenery out there. That's our Volkswagen drive of the game here in the eighth. Things stay where they are. We figure to see A.J. Ramos come on and try to save this game in the ninth inning. Red will have Votto, Bruce, and Duvall in the ninth.
When Christian Yelich first came up from the minor leagues back in 2013, boy, Tony Perez was just so high on him, and unfortunately for Yelich, he's been set back from time to time by the same thing, which is some lower back problems. They thought that he's got a chance to be the type of player that could win a batting title. There's the big doggy.
Yeah, we just saw him. Extended stay in Cincinnati for the Hall of Fame weekend. Pete Rose induction. He was a big part of all that.
He had such a good time up there. Loves coming back to Cincinnati. Of course, his son Eduardo is doing a lot of TV work down here for the Marlins. He's off doing some ESPN TV work right now. Jeff Conine filling in for him as the analyst for the Marlins television network.
He used to be the hitting coach down here as well, Eduardo.
as was Jeff Conine.
Yeah.
I guess that's the necessity of the job title.
Hamilton will retreat and make this catch. Runner tagging and moving on to second and just hooking that bag out there is Prado.
How many times has Billy Hamilton done that to a center fielder, and this time he had it done back to him? I don't know whether Billy didn't think he was going to go or not, but Prado will take a look at it from his perspective. He's going to go out there and go about a third of the way and say, you know what, that's far enough. If he's not coming in on it, running as he catches it, I'm going to take advantage. And Billy got a pretty good throw off, but I don't think he was really under complete balance when he threw it. So that's just a good heads up baseball play by Prado.
So now it's Stanton.
Yeah, I figured out why Stanton has the see-through look of the bars, like the
football mask,
football mask, rather than the solid one, like we saw in Jason Hayward. If you take a close look at it, we'll get a shot of it right here. Well, he moved on me. There's a G. You see that G for Giancarlo?
Sure do.
Well, that's a nice pitch by Ohlendorf right there. I mean, you want Stanton to pull off the ball just a little bit. You're not going to intimidate this guy. But if you can just buy yourself a half an inch or an inch where he pulls off the baseball, you throw him something down and away on the next pitch, and he just misses the sweet spot. At least that's the plan.
On a breaking ball, nice pitch there by Ross Ohlendorf. Stanton was pulling off. He strikes out. We go to the ninth. Reds down a pair. For Reds action 30 minutes before each and every game with Reds Live pregame here on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live pregame presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. We'll have one for you here tomorrow. The game is at 4:10. Our coverage at 3:30. Remember, after tomorrow's Reds Marlins game, turn over to Fox for Baseball Night in America as the star-studded Cubs battle Andrew McCutchen and the Pirates at 7 p.m. Eastern on your local Fox station, or you can watch it all live on Fox Sports Go. The Cubs and Pirates tomorrow night at 7 on Fox. Reds and the Marlins tomorrow afternoon on Fox Sports Ohio. Our Reds Live pregame coverage getting things started at 3:30. A.J. Ramos, 25 of 26 in save opportunities this year with a 2.38 ERA into the game.
Now, the 29-year-old right-hander is a very serviceable reliever. A little bit of cut life on his fastball and a very good tilting slider, and that's his go-to pitch. He'll throw it anywhere from 79 to 84 miles an hour. But against a left-hander, more likely that fastball or cutter that he'll throw right at 90.
Otto over 3 tonight. Bruce waits on deck. Reds scored their run in the fourth. Threatened to score more than one time in that inning. Threatened in the fifth, but have not had a scoring chance since then. Down an order in the sixth. 3 batters and out in the seventh thanks to the double play. Down an order in the eighth. Dan Straley, 6 innings, 3 runs, 6 hits. Red starter, pitcher of record. Jose Fernandez, 1 unearned run, 6 hits in 7 innings with 8 strikeouts. Pitch of record for the Marlins. Joey strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. That's 10 strikeouts now by Marlins pitching here this evening.
Well, another breaking ball that has Joey Votto out in front. Looked like that Ramos may have gotten away with a hanger there.
So the batter is Bruce. Jaden Knight grounded out, lined out, smashed one to the second baseman, and was retired his last time. Reds in a base runner to have a chance, down by a pair here in the ninth. And Ramos had 24 saves, 24 save chances after saving the game here against the Cubs on June the 25th. The next time out on July the 1st in Atlanta, he blew the save, ending a streak of 33 straight converted saves back to the end of last year. He has since picked up a save in New York on the 5th. That's on Tuesday. So he's 25 of 26 this year. And he will throw out Bruce here. And so now the Reds are down to their last crack. Adam Duvall will come to the plate. By the way, we were wondering earlier about Adam Duvall and who might be throwing to him in terms of the home run derby. Jim Day, I think you have the answer to that, right?
Indeed I do. It's Tony Padilla. He threw batting practice for the Sacramento River Cats, the AAA affiliate of the Giants, and part-time coach for them, and he threw to him about every day, so he's very familiar with him and going with a guy from his past.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Seven consecutive Reds have been retired. 13 of the last 14 as Duvall bats here with 2 men out in the ninth.
That shot of Jose Fernandez right there. I mean, getting ready to charge the mound if Ramos is able to put Duvall away for the final out.
A lot of energy, doesn't he?
You know, some of the antics that he had early were maybe misconstrued. They thought he was trying to show up other players and maybe showing too much emotion. But the more you see him and the more you talk to people close to the Marlins, they just say this kid just loves to play baseball.
Ball and 2 strikes on Duvall. Fernandez closing in. Ramos can get it for him. His 11th win of the year. The strikeout of Duvall ends the game, and the Marlins win the first game of this series here in Miami. 3-1 the final score, with Jose Fernandez getting his 11th win. A.J. Ramos saved number 26, and in a good pitching outing by Dan Straley, he suffers a loss. He is now 4-6. Game 1 final here at Marlins Park. The Marlins 3, Reds 1. We'll be back with more in a moment.